Hey there, good afternoon and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph, I'm the host of this show. On this show we do progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. On occasion I do a few things other than music. Today is one of those days and this is one of those episodes. So, the title of this series, which will come out once a month, is called A Novel Approach. Today we're featuring a novel that I recently completed and I'm working on the second installment now. I was going to do another album I had done, a book I had done a while ago, but I decided since this one was fresh in my mind, it was a good start as any. So we're going to be not reviewing, because I'm not reviewing, I'm just telling you the story about this. You can decide what you want about it. Anyways, the book we're going to be doing is this one, Frankenstien by Dean Koontz. This is book one, The Prodigal Son. So I'll just give you a little bit of vital stuff on it so you're aware of it. It was, of course, Dean Koontz was the author of it. And Bantam Books has the rights to the book, and it was copyright from 2005. So it's about 17 years old, but I read it recently. Actually, it's not entirely true. I read it about 5 years ago. Well, that's not entirely true either. I listened to it on tape about 5 years ago. When I was driving a lot, I used to listen to books on tape. However, I bought the book and I read it, and I'm on book 2 now. But anyways, it's a pretty different take than this book, which is written by Mary Shelley, the original Frankenstein novel, which basically, in the original Frankenstein novel, Frankenstein creates a monster who then kills a member of his family, and he spends his tortured existence trying to kill this monster. Okay, so in this book, the monster has a name. The name is Deucalion. So since we're going to get into the names, I will give you the names of the main characters and the sort of secondary characters. Okay, so the protagonist in this novel is Deucalion. He's the original Frankenstein's monster. But unlike in the original book, he's the good guy, and Victor Helios, who is Victor Frankenstein, is the homicidal crazy man. So, and then we have Carson O'Connor and Michael Madison, who are both detectives who discovered that there's a race of beings out there that Victor Helios created. The other characters include Jelly Biggs, who runs the theater owned by Deucalion, Jonathan Harker, who is another detective, but a member of this new race, and he's gone rogue. Randall Six, also a member of this new race. Randall Six is autistic creation by Helios, who he's using to test. Erica Four, Helios, is Victor Frankenstein's bride, and is also a creation, his own creation, Bride of Frankenstein, if you prefer. Roy Prebo is a serial killer, and then Arnie O'Connor is Carson's little brother, who's also autistic. So basically the story goes like this. Victor Helios creates Frankenstein 200 years ago, and they basically follow the story that was written by Mary Shelley, but in the Mary Shelley version of this book, it's a story that she's telling about Frankenstein. But in this book, they tell it as if it was a fact written by Mary Shelley. She wrote a story about something she had learned about, but people just thought it was a book, but in reality it was real. Victor Frankenstein created the Frankenstein's monster from parts that he took from the graveyard of criminals. So, and then he put this all, patched it all together, and then, for any of you who've read Frankenstein, know that during an electrical storm, the electricity hit the pole and gives animation to Frankenstein brings him to life, and then the story after that is completely different from this one. So in this one, Deucalion rebels against Victor Frankenstein, but finds out he cannot kill him. That Deucalion has put Victor Frankenstein, or Victor Helios, has put something in his DNA to make it so he can't kill him. But he kills his wife, and then disappears. In the story, it takes place in New Orleans. This version of Frankenstein takes place in New Orleans, where Victor Helios has set up a hospital which he uses to create other members he calls the new race. Basically, they're clones that he's cloned, but he's genetically altered them to be denser bone-wise, stronger physically. They have 2 hearts, 2 livers, and lots of duplicate organs, and are very tough to kill. And his purpose for all this will become clear shortly. But anyways, he's creating these people in New Orleans, and this is when Deucalion finds out that he's still alive. Deucalion's been living for some period of time, and this is the name that Frankenstein's monster takes, Deucalion. Been living some time in Tibet among the monks there, who have accepted him, and he's been there for a long time. Who knows how long? He's 200 years old. Anyways, his face is scarred on one side as a result of Victor Helios, and one of the monks there tattoos his face on that side to try and alleviate the monstrous look of him. At some point in his past, he was living in carnivals as a sideshow freak called the Monster. Okay, the guy that dies owned a theater. He leaves the theater to Deucalion. Carson O'Connor and Michael Madison are 2 detectives that are partners. There's kind of a romantic feeling between them, but they keep it to themselves, as they don't want it to interfere, or at least she doesn't want it to interfere with their professional duties. They are the ones who are the homicide detectives who discover some of the murders that's been going on in the park, and these murders are perpetrated by another character known as Roy Prevost. He's a lunatic, for lack of a better term. He collects pieces of people, actually pieces of women that he thinks are perfect, so that he can build himself the perfect woman when he gets all the parts. So he cuts them out of the person, and he bags them and preserves them in his freezer. But another member of the new race, as they're called, discovers that he's doing this, and it becomes somewhat like a copycat. Anyways, Jelly Biggs is another character. He's the guy who lives in the theater, was working on the theater when it was left to Deucalion, and continues to run the theater. Carson O'Connor, we already said that. Jonathan Harker is the detective that is a member of the new race, and is actually the character that becomes a copycat of Prevost. Randall Sixth, the autistic creation of Victor Helios. Helios creates him autistically because he feels that autistic people can work for long periods of time on one particular thing without getting bored with it, and so he wants to create, manufacturing. Instead of having robots, he wants to have manufactured people who he can use in that fashion. Erica Helios, of course, is his wife. He trains her perfectly, but again, he gives her too much of this or too much of that, and they start having problems. And then Arnie O'Connor is Carson's little brother. He's autistic as well, but he's happy. She takes care of him. He lives in the house. He has his own room. He has a huge Lego castle that he's built, and he's obsessed with this Lego castle. So anyways, the story is like this. Deucalion escaped Helios originally when he was going to kill him and found out he couldn't, but he killed his wife instead. So he's been hiding in carnivals, and then lastly he of course hid in Tibet, where he became a monk, and he lived there until he got word from his friend in New Orleans who said that Helios was alive and took a picture of him and sent it to him. So Deucalion leaves and goes to New Orleans to try and see what he can do about killing Helios. While there, he discovers that he owns a theater in which he stays and hides during the day, traveling about by night, so not to draw any kind of attention to himself, because he's huge. He's a giant, and he has that big scar on his face, and he looks menacing. So he feels the best way to do is to go about in the shadows, and he has some gifted abilities because he was brought to life by the force of nature. He has some abilities. He can read certain signs in nature, and he can move from place to place at a blazing speed. Victor Helios at this time is living in a mansion which he's housed with all the people he's created, and he has a hospital called the Hands of Mercy, which is a laboratory. To the people on the street, they are to the average person, he's just a businessman, but hidden from a view is his laboratories where he creates living, breathing human. Well, they're not human beings. They've been altered. They're denser. Their bones are denser. They're stronger. They have 2 hearts. They have multiple organs of all kinds, and they're pretty much immortal. And so his goal is to create an entire race of these and replace the human race. He's already begun this by eliminating people in key positions, the police commissioner and that. He has them killed and then replaces them with a replica. That's how he goes about infiltrating. The 2 detectives, Michael and Carson, are investigating a murder that was perpetrated by Prebo, where the lady's eyes had been removed, and another one where a lady's hands had been removed. So they're looking for this serial killer, but unknowns to them, there's a second serial killer, a fellow officer named Jonathan Harker, who is also a member of the new race, put in there to replace and control the police force. But he's has some problems, as many of the new race do. They're not allowed. They can't raise a hand against Victor. They're not allowed to kill without permission. They basically are just slaves, and they can't fall in love. They can't have anything. They can only do exactly what he programs them to do, and for many of them it's a life of misery. So Harker becomes changed, and inside him is growing some kind of a creature that he's unaware of, that he thinks he's giving birth, but he's actually creating another creature who eventually destroys him. But anyways, Randall 6 at this point is living in the Hospital of Mercy, in his own room. He's very autistic, but he sees a picture on one of the papers of Arnie O'Connell, another autistic person who's smiling and happy. And because Randall lives a tortured existence where he's dragged to a room where he's being tested by machinery that creates great pain and stress for him. So he just wants to escape and discover how Arnie became happy. So he's obsessed with wrestling happiness from Arnie, as he puts it. And he's a killer, of course. He eventually escapes, which is really hard on him because he's autistic. But he escapes. He kills a person in the basement. In the alleyway when he's hiding in a garbage can. He kills somebody there. He eventually gets to the point where he's under Arnie's house, living in the crawl space under his house, until he can figure out how to get in there and wrestle happiness from Arnie. Anyways, at this point in time, two things are happening. Well, many things are happening, but the detectives discover that Harker actually discovers Prebo and puts his stuff in there, and Prebo is alerted to there being another copycat but doesn't know what to do, and then eventually they confront each other and Harker kills him, throws him off a roof. And it's discovered that Harker is a killer, and the two detectives try to take him down, but because he's super strong and of the new race, he's hard to kill. They shoot him, but he keeps getting away, and then eventually the creature that's inside of him escapes into an alley and kills him by taking part of his body with him, his heart and all that. Harker's taken to the autopsy room to be autopsied so that they can prove that there's actually other people that are out there to try to eliminate the human race. But unbeknownst to Carson and them is that the two coroners have also been replaced, and the body's gone, and they can't prove anything, so they decide that they're going to try and kill Victor Helios on their own. But they are also unaware that Victor Helios is out to eliminate both of them. So Victor's wife, Erica, her part in this is that, of course, being sadistic as he is, he likes masochistic. He's sadistic. He sadistically likes his sex like that, very rough and violent, and creating shame for the other person. He creates her to tolerate that, and but she goes rogue and starts reading too much and becoming different, and so he has to put her down. So that's the end of his wife, Erica 4. But have no fear, Erica 5 is on the horizon. So Prebo and Erica are both dead at this point. Michael and Carson are trying to hunt down Helios. Helios is going to have them killed, but they do not know that yet. And Deucalion is trying to find a way to get close to Victor. Arnie O'Connor, of course, is able to see things that is a little bit different. He has this castle that he's always making. The castle is to try to protect him. In his mind, it protects him. So in the end of book 1, we find out that what's going on. They now understand that Victor Helios was originally Victor Frankenstein and has this plan to replace everybody and wipe out the human race. And they also discover that the new race is also much stronger and harder to kill, and that people have already been replaced amongst the humans by his people. So Carson and them know that they can't bring this to the authorities because they do not know who and who isn't part of the new race, and who might just use that to get hold of them or put them in jail and have them killed or whatever. So they decided to go rogue here and hunt down Victor and kill him with Deucalion's help. And that's where the plot ends there. Victor, of course, creates a new wife, Erica 5. He's always trying to improve on the model, I guess. And that's it. So for me, I really enjoyed this story. There's a number of things about this book I really like. First of all, it's a new spin on Frankenstein, which I enjoy quite a bit. I like the characters. Most of the characters are pretty interesting characters. The other thing is Dean Koontz has a fantastic sense of humor. And his stories, unlike some authors I read who are very detailed but not so easy to follow, his stuff is very easy to follow. He writes in a style that's easy to follow. He doesn't yes, there's things that you're not sure of that are going on, but everything's very logical, and you can see where the story's going. You can follow the plot very easily. So this is the first of 3 books. I'll do the other 2 as I finish them. But if I just really enjoyed the book. I actually read it twice. Very few books I've ever done that with. So anyways, I'm enjoying the second book now, about halfway through. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of rendition of the novel approach. I'll be doing these about once a month. Next week we'll be doing the comic book boy, 1970s comic book boy, which we'll be choosing a comic and putting that one on display. Pretty much what we do with the CDs, but in a more book kind of description, where I'll be talking about what goes on and the storyline and everything. So again, this is something new, and I decided on these 3 little shows that come once a month, just to give me a kind of break from just doing albums. I like to do other things too, and actually have a horde of things I do. Too many things really, but I just chose these 3 because I think they work well with videos. So again, I hope you will enjoy this. Tell me if you've read the book, what you think of it, what parts you enjoyed, which parts maybe you didn't enjoy as much. There wasn't much in this I didn't enjoy. Well, just the whole concept is really unique, I think. Anyways, if you like, please like and subscribe. Tell me what you think, make your comments, and we'll be back again next month with another episode of another book. And there you have it, from Prog Monster. You have a great day. Goodbye.